very powerful person in America. It's a true story. This is actually taught in law school in coaching your client class. That's what it's called, coaching your client. They tell you this story. So he was a multimillionaire, he was a politician, and he was accused of murdering a 17-year-old girl. And they came to court, and it's one of the biggest cases of the century. For he was one day going to run for president of the United States. He was going for it all. So this guy was very wealthy. He hired himself the best lawyer in the United States, $5 million up front. That's what you had to pay this lawyer. What is that called when you pay up front? Retainer. A retainer. I always thought a retainer is what you wear at night, but okay. A $5 million retainer before the case. But this lawyer never lost a case. Against him as the prosecuting lawyer was a little schnitzel, 23-year-old assistant DA, just coming out of law school. No chance. But the way it works in the DA's office, it goes like lottery, and it came out to this kid, and he's got to now go and prosecute this politician against a $5 million lawyer. And the case begins, and the press is there, and they're like, there's no way that this kid has any chance. And the DA gets up, the assistant DA gets up, and he starts to prosecute, and the first person he calls up as a witness is a lady that was outside the room. She heard a girl screaming, and she saw this guy leave the room at 3 o'clock. And he's pounding away, this assistant DA, and he's prosecuting. And now they come to the defense, and everyone's leaning in. The $5 million lawyer gets up, and he comes up to the bench, and he says to the lady, what time was it that he walked out the door? She says it was 3 o'clock. He says, how do you know it was 3 o'clock? She said, I looked at my watch. And what kind of watch are you wearing? She said, a Timex. And how do you know the Timex was on time? Maybe it was 3:02. Maybe you're one of those ladies who puts the clock a little bit ahead so you're on time. Maybe it was 3:04. Did you check the Timex watch? When was the last time the Timex watch battery was changed? When was the last time a watchmaker looked at the watch? And now everyone's sitting in this courtroom. This is a $5 million lawyer. Instead of cross-examining the lady, he's cross-examining a Timex watch. And the press is wondering what's going on over here. And I'm not going to keep you. And this goes on for a week. The prosecutor's prosecuting, he's got all his witnesses, and this guy gets up to cross-examine, and he's making a chayzik, a joke of the whole case. And Nebuch, this poor politician, is sitting there, and he's thinking to himself, $5 million I spent on this guy, and he's burying me. Case is over. After 5 days, judge gets up, says, okay, prosecutor first, summation. Give us a summation of your case. And the prosecuting assistant DA, this little kid, now he feels great about himself, because he won this case. He ripped this guy to pieces. This guy did nothing. In fact, the jury's sitting there, 6 men, 6 women, and they're saying, guilty. There's no question. There's no defense. He was definitely guilty. We're going to put him in the electric chair. He took away this poor girl's life. We're going to fry him like French fries. We're taking him down. But they can't say anything yet. So the assistant DA gets up, summation. He gets up. Now he's got his new suit. And the press is writing, the assistant DA, this might be, if he wins this case, he's going to become a big lawyer. And he gets up and he says to the people of the jury, I just want to tell you that you must find this person sitting in that seat guilty of murder, first degree, punishable by death. He took the life of a 17-year-old girl. She will never go to the prom. She will never have children. She will never be married. She will never have grandchildren. You know what a life is worth? A life is worth a life. Therefore, you must find this person guilty. First degree murder, punishable by the electric chair. Amazing. He sits down. Amazing. And now the judge says to the other lawyer, to the defense lawyer, the $5 million man, summation. And the lawyer gets up and he's got a big smile on his face. He says, so you all think I got stupid, huh? You all thought I was drunk. He says, the reason I didn't defend my client, because there's no reason to defend my client. You see, what you don't know is that a week ago, this girl that supposedly was murdered called me. She's in Mexico. She ran away from her parents. There was no murder. And for all your information, at exactly 3 o'clock, it is now 2 o'clock, at exactly 3 o'clock, she's going to be walking in through the door in the back of the courtroom. Therefore, I felt there was no reason for me to waste my time in this whole court. Because if there is no victim, there is no murderer. And the assistant DA sits down, he says, I can't believe it. And the judge says, I was going to say guilty. The jury's sitting there, they feel so guilty now. They were going to kill an innocent man. And it's 2 o'clock, and they're all sitting there, and the clock's ticking, and it's 2:15, and it's 2:45, and it's 2:55, and everybody turns around, and they're watching the door. I'm supposed to turn around and watch the door. And they're watching the door, and they're waiting for her to walk in. And it's 3:01, and it's 3:05, and it's 3:15, and it's 3:30, and they're sitting there, and they're schwitzing, and they're waiting, and where is she, and come on, and it's 3:45, and finally it's 4 o'clock, she still hasn't walked in through the door, and the judge turns to the lawyer and says, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but if you don't do summation now, you're going to be found in contempt of court, and you're going to go to jail too. And the brilliant lawyer gets up, and his client is sitting there, he's schwitzing. What is this Meshuggah doing to me? What is he doing? He's crazy. Listen to a brilliant lawyer. And the lawyer gets up, and he turns to the jury, and he says, you all were coached. You know American law. You all know that in American law, to find somebody guilty, he must be 100% guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Is it not true that all you members of the jury, judge included, and everybody in this courtroom, for the last hour, you were all looking at the door waiting for her to walk in? That means you were not 100% sure that she was dead. And therefore, according to American law, there is a reasonable doubt, or you would not have been looking at the door. I file for mistrial. I file for my client to be found not guilty. And the judge and the jury sit there, and the press start hitting their keys. He's not worth $5 million. He's worth $25 million. Brilliant. He tricked them all, but he was right. If you looked at the door, that meant you had a doubt in your head that she could walk through. Then you can't find someone guilty. And the judge turns, and he says to the jury, that's the law. Well, the law is you have to go into your room and you have to find a verdict and come right back out. And he's sitting there, and the client is clapping and the lawyer on the back, and they're clapping each other, and the press is going crazy. And they come back out after 1 minute, the jury. They get back into the box, and the jury lady gets up, and she says, we, the jury, find so-and-so guilty of murder, first degree, punishable by the electric chair. And the whole place is going nuts. And the judge turns to the jury and says, you can't. You can't. This is American law. You can't make a circus out of my courtroom. We were all looking at that door. That means we were not sure. And the jury person says, I'd like to sit down, but I'd like to have this young girl get up. Because of her, we found him guilty. And the whole place hushes, and this young girl gets up. And listen to what she says. She says, I went into the jury room, and you see, everybody in the room was looking at the door. I was looking at the accused. And the accused for the whole hour from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, never turned around to look at the door. And the only person in the world that knows that she's not coming through that door has to be the person that murdered her. And therefore, we found him guilty. Brilliant girl. Brilliant case. And the law professor that teaches this says, therefore, if you're ever going to pull one of those shenanigans, tell your client to look at the door. This is a true story. It's a very famous story in law school. What does this story have to do with us? I'm giving speeches here for a very long time. You all go to learn. You all go to speeches. And you have great lawyers that are telling you great cases and how great you are and your potential and what you can become your whole life. But if you don't believe it, but if you're the one sitting and not turning around and believing that you're going to come through that door, that you can make it happen, that you have the potential, you're guilty. You're guilty. Because no matter how good the lawyer is, the client, the person, has to believe and has to show that they believe. The Jews in Mitzrayim was a great case. There were 10 makkos. There was a Kriyas Yamsuf. There was all these things, but they didn't, in Yiddish there's a word for it. There's herring, to hear something, and there's da herring, to make it part of you, to make you feel it. The Jews saw all the miracles, but they didn't take it in. It wasn't about them, it's a miracle about the Jews, it's not about me. We all in this room have a Kriyas Yamsuf every day where we're stuck between two things. behind us and in front of us, and we can't move. But you got to jump into the water, says Hashem. You got to believe in me. You got to jump into the water. It's not enough tefillah. Tefillah is the case, but if you don't look at the door, it means you don't believe what you're saying. Sure, Magen Avram and all the things that you say, but if you don't believe it, then it's just words, and you are guilty. And therefore, I'm begging everyone in this room that we learn from this week's Pasha V'chamushim Alu that the Klal Yisrael came out of Mitzrayim, only 1/5 of us made it. 2,400,000 Jews died. And the Chidah says that when Mashiach comes, it's going to happen again, it's going to be 15 days. You do the math. If it took 3 days for 4,600,000 Jews, how many Jews? It'll take 15 days. It's a scary number. So it's our job to help our brethren, the girls that you know and the women that you know, to bring them close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you know what? I don't care how great Mashiach is. If you got to go through in the darkness and bury other Jews, it's a Holocaust. It's not Mashiach that we want. If during the darkness there are going to be Jews that are not religious, that did the wrong thing, that we didn't bring closer, is that the Mashiach that we want? Do we want to go for 15 days and bury our cousins and our relatives and our friends? So if you have to believe, and you have to have emunah, and you have to believe in your door. In your door. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows you, and when you look at a plane flying in the sky, you have to say, that's bigger than Kriyas Yamsuf. That plane is up 36,000 feet in the air. That's amazing. I'm living in a world of Kriyas Yamsuf every second. I'm on my phone every second. So I know that there's miracles happening every second. X-rays, sonograms, hello, MRIs, they can go and look inside could they look inside a person's body in Mitzrayim? You walk in, you take a test, you're upset. It's an MRI, it's showing every cell in your brain. We can see every cell inside your body. They never had anything like that. And we take an MRI, we're upset. Nifla, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You gave us the ability to see every cell in a person's brain. You got to look at the door, not just hear the story. Yeah. Hashem does miracles that I could see. I challenge anyone in this room tonight, anyone in this room, to go home and at the front door close your eyes. And don't open your eyes till tomorrow morning. There's not a person in this room that can do it. You're going to open it up a little bit for a second to make sure that you can still see. Every morning you make a bracha, pokeach ivrim. Do we think when we make a bracha, blessed are you Hashem, that I'm able to see? Yeah, okay, next. Malbish arumim, that I'm able to wear clothing. Next. Nu nitzon le'av koyach, that I'm able to stand. Next. It's a story, it's a lawyer. But if you don't turn around and you don't think to yourself, Hashem gives me the ability to see, so you want to appreciate it, I'm telling you what to do. You want to appreciate it? When you get to your house tonight till tomorrow morning, keep your eyes closed. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to go out of your mind. Well, there are people who are blind, Nebuch, for their whole lives. They never see anything. And if Hashem didn't give you vision, your whole life, you would only see black, darkness. No colors, no people, nothing. Those are the miracles that every second and every day, and you hear it, and it's a good case. But you sit in your seat like that guy, and you don't turn around. Because you are the only person that knows that there's a HaKadosh Baruch Hu or doesn't know there's a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you sit there and you don't look at the door, then you don't really believe your own story. But if you turn around and you look at the door, then in the schutz of you looking at the door and believing in yourself and then believing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu and believing that Mashiach's coming. You know, the Chavetz Chaim had a little suitcase in his house. I wonder what was in that suitcase. I wonder what we would put in all. What would be the first thing you put in your suitcase for Mashiach? Your cell phone. I guarantee you the Chavetz Chaim didn't have a phone in that suitcase. But he believed Mashiach was coming. He had to have a suitcase. He had to be prepared. We need to prepare for Mashiach. Prepare for Mashiach. When Mashiach comes tomorrow, are you ready? Did you have a good day today? Did you stay off the internet? Did you not look at things you're not supposed to? Did you stay away from the wrong music? Did you have kibbut of aim? Do you want to be judged tonight to see if you made Mashiach's team? No. So if you really say every morning, Ani Mamim, even though it takes so long, 3 o'clock, the clock's turning to 4 o'clock. It's taking a long time for him to get here. Hashem says, just turn around for 1 second and believe it. Change your life for 1 second. Mashiach's coming. Got to change for 1 second. Show me that you believe it. Because if you don't show me you believe it, you're going to lose the case. You're not going to be there. Hashem should give us all emunah and atzlacha and bitachon, and we should all turn around and we should see Mashiach walk through the door.